Hello, I'm Meg Salyer, and I'd like to welcome you today to the Ward 6 Council Show. I have with me one of my dear friends, Tom Jones, who's the president and CEO of City Rescue Mission, which is one of the real superstars and centerpieces of the social service community that helps those much more disadvantaged in our community. And Tom, maybe as we begin to talk about the City Rescue Mission, tell us a little bit about its history.
In 1960, there was a group of businessmen down in what we know now as Bricktown, and they just kept noticing these men eating out of the trash cans in and around their businesses. And so they came together and decided that as a community they needed to do something, and so they opened up a little shop down there, and it was basically a soup kitchen. And then as days and weeks went by, they realized that they were still out there hanging around even though they were being fed, and they began talking with them and realized that they were homeless and truly didn't have any place to go and lay their head at night. So they started bringing in some bunk beds, and word got out along the stretch, I guess, and so
word tends to get out even today, whether it's 1960 or whether it's today.
So and so the reality was that, you know, the impoverished, those that are in poverty and just destitute, they sometimes just kind of hang in the shadows, and they don't want to be seen all that much, but they have real needs. And so when City Rescue began reaching out to them, they started coming. And during those years, it moved from a soup kitchen to a residential environment where they ate, and they would offer classes and job training and assistance and try to help them in their homelessness. The challenge has been, the way our economy's been over the last, several decades, more and more are just finding themselves not able, be it education or mental health issues, physical disabilities, that just find themselves not able to keep up with the requirements that it takes to make a living. And so City Rescue has truly been one of those innovators that is trying to stay on top of the need and then create the programs and systems that would help meet those needs.
So one of the things I've had the privilege of learning in the years that we've been friends is the programming that you do. This is not just a place to come get a hot meal and have a shower, but it's a place to take control of your life and move into transitional housing, hopefully, and move into life skills. So you've been at City Rescue Mission for 8 years.
I've been at City Rescue 8 years as president.
Great.
I was a volunteer there for 9 years doing chapel services. We are a faith-based organization, and they have opportunities for people who want to. It's not required, but if they are interested, they can come to chapel. And we believe that there is a spiritual component to all of us, and that the more we get that in order and get our mind in order, then sometimes those other pieces of our life begin to fall in place. And so we offer that, again, voluntarily, but we feel that the number one thing that must happen in the mind of a homeless person is for them to take responsibility for their life. We understand that there's domestic violence, there's abuse, there's job loss, there's somebody's died or divorced or something, and it's easy sometimes for a human being to just quit, to just say, I can't handle this pressure, so I'm just going to stop. But we're not designed to stop. So sometimes it just takes that little extra nudging to say, you can do this. We believe in you, and you can rise up above this. If it's education, then let's work on that. If it's job training, let's work on that. If it's a loss in your life, let's process that so you can move past it and become everything that you intended to be. Even we start with, what did you dream as a child that you wanted to do with your life? And they don't have a problem in the world.
People remember that, right?
Referring back and recalling that, and their eyes light up when they begin talking about that. And I said, there's a bunch of stuff, I'm sure, that's happened in your life that makes you think it's not possible anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing when they began to believe again how dedicated and committed they are. Even if it's a substance abuse issue, we have a substance abuse program. That's not the end of the world. we could overcome anything to achieve what we believe we can achieve.
So Tom, one of the things that I've found in some of these recent conversations around the community is I think maybe some of our citizens don't know how much is actually being done to help this community of folks that need our help so much, and some of the positive trends that we're seeing. And you've been doing this for long enough that you really have a good sense. I think we've talked even once before about how the population has transitioned to some extent into seeing more women and children than you had seen before, and I know you've made some adjustments within the mission about
Sure.
that. Share with me some of the kind of data-driven things that you're seeing. And
in 2015, over 50% of the people that walked through our doors were women. Wow. And over 30% of them were over the age of 50.
See, and I think that's just not what people think about when they
you look out on the
examine
street
the face of homelessness
and see the ones that are on the streets, you still think they're all a bunch of middle-aged men who just are lazy or whatever the case might be. But the reality is we've had over 500 children. Wow. And I think 90-some% of those are under the age of 5.
Oh my goodness.
We've had 15 babies born where their mothers were residents at the mission, and one of the babies was born at the mission.
Oh my gosh,
So,
that wasn't part of the program.
No, I was going, whoa. But the idea that it's a middle-aged male dilemma is long gone. It's so many senior adults are finding themselves as that's their only option. And I'm just telling you, Meg, that our community should look at that and say, not on our watch.
Right.
We are not going to leave our young mothers and our senior women to live their lives out in a homeless shelter simply because the resources or the process to obtain those resources is so complicated or convoluted that they feel that that's their only option.
Well, I think we need to do a whole program on the senior women because I know it's an issue that you've been working on quite a bit. But numbers of people that you see coming in your doors, has that changed over the last year or two?
2014, we saw a little over 5,000 unique individuals that walked through our doors for services. 2015, that number was down to about 3,500.
Oh, Tom,
and that's a wonderful fact, but you have to look at why. And what a lot of people aren't aware of is the number of people that have come through City Rescue Mission that are in housing now and have remained in housing for years since they've been gone through the program, again, of getting their heads screwed on straight. What is it that caused you to just quit? But it's something that can be, repaired or restructured or they pull it together, and now they're excited to go. They're not, as a matter of fact, of the hundreds that we've seen placed in housing, every single one of them, over 94%, I believe, are still in housing, and they've decreased their need for assistance from the government over 50%.
Well, and that's just an outstanding achievement.
It needs to be known that it's happening because sometimes if we don't know those realities, we become overwhelmed with this craziness that's going on in our society. And yet, when the community like Oklahoma City rallies together, and I'm just going to be honest with you, when we have the partnership with City Council and city government and all the wonderful agencies that serve in this community, we can see this thing conquered. This is the 21st century. We don't have to sit here and have our citizens living in poverty, begging on the streets, and living below what their potential is.
Right, and one of the things I really wanted to try to elevate in the conversation is how many incredible agencies there are doing this great work across the spectrum. And
absolutely.
We talked a little bit earlier with the Homeless Alliance and the coordination of efforts. We're all dealing with finite resources, and to be sure that we're complementing rather than overlapping with each other is so important. But I continue to see your campus grow in a very beautiful way, by the way.
Thank you.
It looks terrific.
Well, we're downtown, and we made our minds up several years ago if we're going to get to stay downtown, which is where many of the homeless congregate because of the bus terminals, that we need to stay up with the project and make sure that when people are driving down Reno, they don't come out of what is considered the excellence of Oklahoma City into this environment of nasty. And so our board of directors and our donors, they are so appreciative that we are continuing the level of excellence that Oklahoma City has
Well, and it expresses
pursued.
your care and concern for these folks as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's the dignity of where they live. I tell a story that you told me so many times about a young girl that was living at that rescue mission, and she was on her way to school. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
She was at school in
she
class,
was in
and her
class,
teacher
and someone
overheard.
asked her where she lived, and her response was she lived at the City Rescue Mansion.
Exactly.
And it just brings joy to my face every time I think about that, with somebody helping them take care of their place, and this beautiful big staircase, and somebody preparing their meals for them. And it was just a really heartwarming story, but it spoke so deeply to, you know, the quality of wraparound service that is provided there.
These clients, they have great need, but they don't have to live in squalor to receive those needs to be met. And so we feel very strongly that it needs to be done with the highest level of excellence, and that we're taking that pattern after Oklahoma City. I mean, we've worked diligently for several decades to try to bring this thing into some level of excellence where the community can be proud, and we're going to do the same thing for our lowest impoverished, marginalized population. And it's amazing how that level of excellence causes them automatically to just begin to see themselves differently once they are living in a place that takes pride in making sure that that is
Well, we
safe
have
and healthy.
noticed a diminishment in the number of camps that were scattered around in and around this part of downtown Oklahoma City. I mean, I do feel that there is some level of success, and it's difficult in that we know that there's some folks that we may never be able to reach, but if we can communicate that supporting the agencies that are doing this good work and helping get people there. Now, two quick things, because I know we're running out of time, but you have an opportunity for anybody that needs help to get picked up. Do you have the phone number memorized?
Well, they just go to our website, cityrescue.org,
Okay.
and they can find it. They can go to the library. If it's a homeless person, they go to the library. But if it's any person in the community, any company, any individual, any church, go to our website, cityrescue.org, and you can download this little card. It's called the Compassion Card, and it's got the number on it. You call that number, and we'll come pick them up and bring them to the mission and give them all the services necessary to bring hope to them in their situation.
Perfect. So directing people to you is the best result, that we really can.
That way, in a moment like this, we don't have to give all the details of how that process works, but go to the website. It's full of everything that we do, and they would see how they can partner.
Do you use volunteers?
We have thousands of volunteers, and I just want to say this. Oklahoma City is one of the most amazing communities where people want to help. Sometimes they just don't know how to help. So again, go to cityrescue.org, click on volunteering, and we provide 2,000 hours a day of volunteer opportunities.
Fabulous.
Because we have a multitude of different places that people can serve simultaneously.
And I assume that that's funded mostly through private donations, and if people would like to give, they can go to the website.
Well, we do operate solely on private donations, but if the Lord touches somebody's heart, they're more than welcome. There are a lot of wonderful agencies, all needing resources, but it's a trust process, and we're amazed at how God works things out.
Well, this is an incredibly generous community,
It
and
is.
City Rescue Mission is just one example of the great things that are happening. So thank you for this partnership, and thank you for your friendship. I very much appreciate it, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks for the opportunity
Thanks
to be
for
here.
coming, Tom.
Thank you.